I was fortunate enough that I could forgive rather quickly, to the point that at the funeral I could say, you know what, I'm going to turn this into a blessing instead of a tragedy.
Welcome to Positive Vibes. I'm Nicki Dennis. This is the space about real connection. This is where stories uplift, heal, and remind us that we're not alone. Today's guest brings such a gentle but powerful truth, one that so many of us need to hear. You don't have to fight your body to feel well again. Healing is possible even when you're feeling exhausted, off balance, or stuck in emotional heaviness. Hanna Kok knows this just as doesn't knows this not just as a coach, but someone who has lived through it. She faced moments where her body felt like the enemy, low energy, emotional spirals, and the kind of fatigue that doesn't go away with just sleep. But what changed everything for her wasn't a strict diet or a lifestyle overhaul. It was forgiveness, the deep kind, the kind your heart breathes, your hormones, and your entire life. Now she is helping people to reconnect with their bodies through compassion, not control. Her message, visibility, viability, I should say, begins with releasing the weight you can't see, the unspoken pain, the self-judgment, the emotional tension that we've been carrying for years. Hanna, welcome to Positive Vibes. We are so pleased you're here.
Thank you so much for having me. I feel honored and, yeah, thank you for all those kind words you said about me there. Thank you very much.
Well, it's just an absolute vision of or review of what you've been doing out there and all the great, wonderful work you've been doing with women. So now, Hanna, I would love to start with your own journey and what were you going through personally that led you to this path of emotional healing and intuitive work?
Well, it actually started at being a teacher 40 years or more than 40 years ago now, whereby I one day looked at the school bag that was hanging over my shoulder and I saw that bag had gone from school to school to school. I had it at high school, teachers training college, and then as a teacher. And I thought, what do I know about life? Because I've always had an interest in life and how it works. And then I decided to go and travel for 6 months. Now, I'm
Mm,
not the most courageous person. So I'm from the Netherlands originally,
yeah.
just in case people wonder my accent. And so I thought, let me go and find a place where I can earn board and lodging so that I have also a more in-depth experience, because now you can be in a community instead of just flittering
Yeah.
past from one place to the next. And so I wrote people all over the world, and the only place they wanted me, they could use my services. I did not want to teach, but it was at a school to do admin work in a little
Mm,
country called Lesotho. Now, I don't know if you ever heard of it. I had to look it up on the map. It is if you look at the map of South Africa, there's always a little pimple in there. And that pimple is Lesotho. It's a little mountain kingdom landlocked by South Africa. Always been independent. And in those days, apartheid was still rife, and I couldn't see myself going to a country with apartheid.
wow. Yeah.
Since then, I thought, since then, I've learned that things are way more complicated than they look from the outside, but I could go to Lesotho. And then I met my first husband there and ended up staying for 12 years. Now, the reason
Wow.
why I left was that he was shot in an armed robbery.
Oh,
And that's where I had to learn the journey of forgiveness. Yeah. So I was very fortunate that I had learned about the power of forgiveness before it happened. I had learned many self-development tools before it happened, because we'd been studying with a teacher called Paul Solomon, which he has this method of called inner light consciousness, and it was about bringing or studying the different religions and how they all point to the same thing, which is love. And so when this happened, I was fortunate enough that I could forgive rather quickly, to the point that at the funeral, I could say, you know what, I'm going to turn this into a blessing instead of a
Wow.
tragedy, because we had been talking about making a life instead of making a living, and we were unable to do that in this little remote village that we were living. And now that he died, I was free to move away from that place and could start doing the work we had been wanting to do together. So that's where my forgiveness journey started. I had a young child at the time, tried to go back to the Netherlands, didn't like it. By this time, it's 1996. So I thought, well, I managed to get a residence permit for South Africa and moved to Johannesburg at the end of 97.
Mm.
And, you know, yeah,
Yeah.
life, there's always things to forgive.
Yeah, just hearing you speak there, you said you had forgiven them by the funeral. That was quick. So, you know,
Yes, but let me
things,
tell you why.
yeah, please do, because that's something that, yeah, I want to dive into a little bit more because, you know, people hold on to these things for years and decades. And yeah, if you can explain how you did that, and also through the work that you've done, I'm interested to understand how these symptoms showed up in your body, how you realised that you had to forgive because you realised it was something deeper.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I actually didn't get sick myself, but I saw the people
Mm,
around me get sick because
okay.
they were not forgiving. You
Uh,
see, that was the difference.
yeah.
So but I have noticed every time when I do forgiveness work that I just have more energy and more energy. And if I think of what I can do at my age, turning 66 in a few days' time, compared to other people of my age, and the strength that I have, the stamina that I have, the health that I have, I completely say it's because of all the forgiveness work and all the releasing that I've done and not holding on to things.
Mm,
But let's go back to why could I say that at the funeral?
yeah.
As
Please.
as I said, I had a lot of training before this happened. I'd been studying educational kinesiology, and one of the things that happened on one of the courses, there was a lady that had told the story that she'd lost her husband, and so this is all before my husband passed away. She
Mm,
lost her husband, and she never grieved him. She just went on. She was strong,
yeah.
handling
Resilient.
it,
Mm.
being positive, And I'm not saying
Everything
it's
everyone
bad to
wanted
be
to say.
positive, but you
Yeah.
have to acknowledge when there's a
Mm,
valley, you got to acknowledge there's a valley. And then she said she had a freak accident where her gate, and in South Africa we have heavy gates because there's security gates, popped off the rail, fell on top of her, and she was pinned under this gate for hours screaming for help, and nobody heard her.
oh,
And
how.
that's when she realized, oh, I need to process this. So that's one thing that I learned there already. But another thing that was important, that was I had seen a woman not that long before that had lost her daughter 3 years before due to a freak illness. She had gone for a camp, got a viral infection, and by the weekend on the Sunday, she was dead.
Mm.
3 years later, this woman was still going like, oh, why is this happening to me? And she was so stuck. And I realized the question why is not going to give me any answers. It it might give me answers, but it will never give satisfactory answers.
Yeah.
I need to ask myself, how can I move forward from here? You see.
Mm.
So that was another thing that helped me, that I realized to stay stuck on why did this happen to me. I had a 16-month-old son, and I knew if I was going to get stuck, my son would have lost both parents that night. So
Yeah.
I could not afford that.
Mm.
The third thing, and this is maybe even the most powerful thing that happened, was I had a friend that had written a book called Death, and it was written in Dutch. Sterven kan ook anders. So dying can also be different,
Mm.
be done differently, something like that. And she had posted this book before he died, but the book arrived miraculously 3 days after he had died.
The
And
universe prevails.
absolutely, this
Mm.
was such a blessing. And so I read in the book that on a soul level, we decide to go 3 days before we actually die.
Mm.
And have you noticed? I mean, you hear stories, people
Yep.
get their life in order
Yep.
for some reason before they go.
Mm.
And then when we were going through my husband's stuff, we had seen in his diary 3 days before he went, he had written, I'm so stuck, it's time to move on. Because we had been wanting to do things, it wasn't working. He had lost his father 6 weeks before, didn't know how to cope with it. So we were really stuck there.
Mm.
And so it was like, well, is this now murder? Or was it actually, because we have also heard it could have been murder because it was, people say it were organized by jealous other shopkeepers in the area.
Yeah.
Or was it part of his divine exit?
Yeah, it's interesting what we put out there, what actually comes back to us. So the saying, you've always got to be careful what you wish for or what you put out there, because the universe will prevail. While you were talking there was a lot of things that resonated for me in regards to the turning points or those moments you realize that you've got to forgive. So I've got a health background as well. And I've often seen that people with the really awful illnesses are ones that are quite bitter, or not all the time, but they've got things going on. They may not be bitter, but they may be sad, or may have things going on underneath them. And I've always been a believer that if you don't deal with what's going on inside, with your feelings, emotions, and your mental well-being, things will manifest in illnesses within your physical body. I'm a true believer.
Absolutely.
So yeah, there was shifts and movements for me watching and healing, helping other people heal by looking at their experiences in that. And in regards to the people knowing that they want to they're going 3 days before. I recently just lost my father only 6 weeks ago. And would you believe he paid his rent up, wanted to pay his rent early because he never did this before, but he wanted to pay it early, and he had a haircut 2 hours before he passed away. So it was like he knew and everything was in order. So yeah, I'm a big believer that people know it's coming as well. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. It must have been very hard for you to forgive, but you've done all that pre-work so quickly. I can understand that you've learnt off others and seen from others' experiences how it
Absolutely.
can play out. Mm.
Absolutely. Because people can get so stuck, so
Mm.
stuck.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to do that. I didn't
Yep.
want to do that. And just to build on what you just said, one of my favorite quotes is, it's not about what you eat, it's about what eats you.
Yep. And
And
that's so true. Yes. Yeah. Letting it build up inside, and then it's just going to manifest into something, yeah, far sinister than what we can believe. Yeah. So, in the world today, you help many women out there, and we know that there's many women out there feeling burnt out, overwhelmed, and out of sync with their bodies. In your view, and we've touched on this a little bit, what do you think's really underneath all that?
I think we're putting so much pressure on ourselves.
Mm.
And I think as women, too often we're trying to be like men. We're trying to be on the go the whole time, and that's masculine energy. Go, 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 instead of also having time to rest. And now I've also seen that, I'm sure you've seen a similar thing with your clients. People get sick because
Mm.
that's the only way they give themselves permission to rest.
Yeah.
And then we take medication instead of addressing the real root cause. And I
Yeah.
like to tell the story of, imagine you have this cute little cat, and unbeknown to you, you keep stepping on its tail, and of course, it's going to screech. And you're getting so irritated with this cat that it's making so much noise, not realizing what you're doing, that you take it to the vet to get the vocal cords cut
Mm.
because you just cannot stand this screeching cat. Now it comes back, you don't change your behavior. Now, next time it's going to claw you. You think, what's wrong with this cat? So you take it to the vet, cut the nails. Now the cat is so desperate, next time you do it, it will bite you and will draw blood.
Yeah.
And this is how the body talks to us.
Yeah.
We have symptoms. It starts with feeling sleepless, sleepless nights. Things
Mm.
are keeping us awake because it's our body's way of giving us extra time to find a solution to the problem that we have. Now,
Yes.
we don't deal with it. We maybe take sleeping tablets, or we have this gigantic sleep routine to prepare us for sleep and whatever's involved in there. And I'm not saying it doesn't work, but if we don't find out why we're having sleepless nights, then we'll start getting symptoms.
Yeah.
Now, one of the interesting thing is that I found, and that's why forgiveness is my topic, and I chose to work with women with hormonal imbalances
Mm.
because hormonal imbalances have to do with a meridian called the circulation sex meridian. Now, I know you know about meridians because you were telling me you went for acupuncture,
Mm.
right? So, um, meridians, do your listeners, well, we don't know yet, if your listeners know what meridians are, but they are these energy pathways that run through the body.
Yeah.
And the circulation sex meridian, the thing that throws that meridian off is holding grudges.
Yeah.
It's the first thing that will go. It will throw your hormonal system out. Now,
Mm.
what happens? Put onto hormones,
Yeah.
change your diet, do whatever we need to do externally
Yeah.
instead of going inside.
Yeah.
Where do we need to forgive others? And especially, where do we need to forgive ourselves?
Yeah.
That's
And
the
with
hardest part.
with those hormonal imbalances, because we know we talked about that it can settle in the body, but hormonal imbalance is another space that can settle in the body. How does that show up with women you've worked with? What are the symptoms that?
It can be depending on the age. So for younger women, premenopausal, I'm not saying perimenopausal, anything from whenever your periods start, 11 to late 40s, you can have problems with your periods and PMS. So
Mm.
you'll have that irritability, people have to walk on eggshells around you that time of the month. Um, but you can have terrible period pains, you
Yeah.
can have the heavy bleeding, but then there are other things as well, like a weak bladder,
Mm.
um, having to cross your legs before you sneeze. The There are so many things linked to our hormones
And then when
that
we
we
go
don't
through
even
menopause.
realize.
Mm.
And then in menopause,
Mm.
well, if we didn't deal with the PMS before, there's this Christiana Northrup, I think is her name, written a whole book about it. She says, if you don't deal with your PMS, your menopause is going to be one long PMS. So deal
Yeah.
with those things that are irritating you.
Mm.
Uh, but again, when you look at the symptoms, I'm also trained as a medical intuitive, where we look at what are the symptoms and what are the underlying issues.
Yeah.
It's all about, this is a reevaluation of life.
Mm.
What
Yeah.
have I done so far? Do I like what I've done so far? If not, we're going to hit a crisis. Um, we see women getting divorced that age a lot because they think now it's the husband's fault. But maybe we're just not happy with the life we have created, or we don't think we are sexy enough, we're not relevant enough because we don't matter anymore, because in Western society, if you don't look pretty and whatever, you're
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
you're
So,
not relevant anymore.
yeah. So, with your work, where you've talked about forgiveness, I suppose that comes back to that inner work of forgiving yourself first and foremost before you can move on to forgive others. Is that how you approach that?
Absolutely. And I've seen amazing things. Um, so for example, one symptom that we get for a lot of women have is heavy bleeding, towards the end of their um, what you call a reproductive
Yeah.
phase. It could be fibroids, it can be whatever it's causing it. And like I had this client bleeding so badly, she was supposed to look after her grandchildren, didn't have much energy for
Mm.
that, had aches and pains in the body.
Mm.
And then we discovered forgiveness work towards her husband, towards herself. The bleeding stopped.
It's ama-
No, nothing was needed.
it's amazing, isn't it? Yeah. Just
Yeah.
how, yeah, that can be connected, yeah, internally. Oh, so I
I
mean,
see it also,
you see
sorry,
it all the
with the
time.
heavy periods.
Yeah.
With the heavy periods, same thing. That heavy bleeding can also stop like that or
Mm.
quick.
Yeah.
I've seen fantastic results within 3 months, often quicker.
Oh, that's amazing. That's yeah. So you said about you've seen there's different methods that you use. I'm intrigued to understand what would one small shift um, someone could make today to start softening that inner tension, to start on this healing, inner healing.
To be kind to yourself,
Mm.
especially if you don't have it all together. And I have that regularly. I mean, I even had it today before we
Yeah,
started the podcast. I definitely didn't have it all together. And to acknowledge that you don't have it all together
and it's
and to say,
okay.
it's okay. It's
Mm.
okay.
Yeah.
And forgive yourself for not having it together, because we just upset because we're hard on ourselves.
Yeah, I often say we should treat ourselves like we treat our friends in need. So we're very kind to them. So we need to do the same thing to us. Yeah, in that space. So yeah, we're not perfect every day. We're going to have high and lows, and that's okay because we're only human. And we've just got to accept and love ourselves for who we are, whether that's not showing up as our best self one day but showing up as a fabulous person the next day. We can't be everything every day, and that's okay. It's
Absolutely.
normal. Yeah. So you talked about you gave one example about the lady that with the heavy bleeding and how that stopped. Can you share with other meaningful transformations that other clients have done with your inner work?
Uh, well, I've had other women as well
Can
prevent having a
imagine.
hysterectomy.
Oh,
They had
wow.
booked the hysterectomy and they didn't have to do it. This lady and others. I had a lady that also was basically prevented hysterectomy. She was on pain medication every day of the
Yeah.
month, because then it was ovulation pain and then it went to
Mhm.
period pain, back to
Mm.
ovulation pain. She felt like her ovaries were on fire.
Yeah.
And then we do the forgiveness work, a lot of it is also about what happened during upbringing. We
Mm.
don't realize, and even what happens in utero, because a lot of our personality is already formed in utero.
Yeah.
And I've got certain ways of identifying what could be causes, and then you do the reframing of the situation and the forgiveness of it. And what is important is when you focus on what is the good that came out of that difficult situation. So
Yeah.
in my case, I was now free to leave that little village and not have to run that store that we didn't want to run anymore, and start doing what I wanted to do.
Mm.
And that made it also easier then to forgive,
Yeah.
because I had been given a gift in that difficult situation.
Yeah.
So when we can see the gold that we got out of that difficult situation, it
Mm.
becomes easier to forgive
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, and that's the hard thing when you're in that pain or grief or anger. It's hard to see that there's always a positive with a negative, and that takes time to learn and to understand. Well, this has happened for a reason. It doesn't seem fair at the time, but to find that positive or that silver lining, what is where can I move forward from this? But some people just get caught in that grief, that pain, the anger, the sadness. Yeah, and yeah, so it's very resonating to hear that what you're saying, because I always look for the positive. For every negative, there's a positive. So I can imagine that some of the work that you do is deeply, deeply emotional, because you've talked about your husband that was murdered, and you can name, the horrific things that happen to, humans out there, done by humans to humans. And it can be very raw and emotional for those people to try and step forward to forgive. How do you support women when you're working with them to feel safe enough to let go or to forgive?
Well, the first thing that I want women to know, that I don't do psychotherapy, because for me, psychotherapy is about reliving what happened,
Mm.
and you take many sessions to hopefully resolve one issue. So, what I do when I work with women is that we identify a couple of issues, and then we reframe it. Like, for example, a big thing that happens is that the father runs away when they find out the mother is pregnant, when there's an unwanted pregnancy. And then it's about reframing. It's like, well, do you think he ran away from you because he didn't want you, or does
Mm.
he just didn't know how to deal with the responsibility of being a father? Oh, okay. Yes, they could see that. So
Mm.
we don't go, even though they're heavy, we don't
Mm.
go deep into the emotions. Although if the emotions come up, I've got great techniques of just going through the emotion without getting stuck in the story.
Yeah.
Because we don't spend too much time on the story. We focus on, okay, that is the story. How can we reframe it
Yeah.
and choose to forgive for you? And what is the good that came out for you? And how can you build on that?
Mm.
So I would sometimes deal with several issues in one session instead of several sessions on one issue.
Mm. That's so refreshing to hear, because I'm a person, I don't like to rehash what's happened. I like to move forward and to learn from it. And people sometimes, I've got some very nice people around me, but they want to go back and talk about what happened and digest it. I don't. To me, that's bringing negative energy back into my life. So it's all about, well, it happened. This is it, this is what I can see, this is how I'm going to move on. So it's very refreshing that you talk in that way, because a lot of the trauma is reliving that moment again, and there's other ways to heal without having to go back and relive and relive and relive. It's
Yeah, no reliving.
refreshing. Yeah, very
But
refreshing. Mm.
but it is important. Well, what I say is you only have to revisit the past if you trip
Mm.
over it. If you have health issues now, you might have to go back where it started and
Mm.
then make peace with it, forgive the other people, forgive yourself, and realize why you attracted that in your life. Because there is a way of getting that answer. Because I live by the idea everything is a reflection of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I invite people in that treat me badly, it's probably because I'm treating myself badly.
True.
And I know
Yeah.
what about children and all that stuff. There are ways of reframing that as well. So I don't want to, that's a whole other story, but there
Mm,
is always a reason why something happens. Either you get a story that you then can turn your mess into your message somehow. It
mm,
shapes you in a way that you wouldn't have been shaped, and you can turn it to make it a strength.
yes.
That's how I look when we look at the past. That's what we look for. And
Mm,
that makes it much easier to look at the thing.
mm. So, what would you say to someone that is stuck and they feel that they've tried everything but still feel disconnected from their bodies?
Well, I think they can, of course, they can contact me or you or,
Mm,
get some help. I don't think it's good to try and do it yourself.
yes.
Sometimes you need some help because you cannot pull yourself out of a hole.
Mm,
And having somebody with an outside view that can put things in perspective for you can be a great,
yeah.
help, support.
Yeah.
I think if you're really stuck, that's what you need to do because, as I experienced, being stuck is dangerous because if you
Mm,
don't get unstuck, the universe will give you a cosmic clap to
they
get you unstuck.
certainly will. Yes. No, I always say that you can't heal alone. You can only heal with connection. So yeah, that's quite resonating with me too. Everything that you're saying there, and let people hold space for them to heal in that space. So I have one question for you, Hannah. How do you personally stay well and aligned to your purpose when you're helping heal others?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that. I have quite a few other practitioners, and we do swap sessions
Ah, yes.
to make sure that I get the support that I need.
Mm,
I attend courses as well, keep growing, and yeah, so that is what I do to stay healthy. And I meditate every day.
yes.
I do exercise. Well, I've got a dog, so I walk every day, but do other exercise as well. So I really do take care of
Mm.
me. Um, because as we all know, we cannot give from an empty cup.
Exactly. My words,
And
exactly. Yeah. And that self care and self love to yourself is first and foremost, especially when you're holding space and helping others to be healed. Yeah. In that space. Yes.
and I'm glad you bring that up, the self-love story.
Mm,
Because people think, oh, if I love myself, that's going to be too costly. That means I'm going to have to now get this massage or this, buy this beautiful clothes because I love myself so much, so I can do that for myself. No, it doesn't have to be like that.
mm,
Having quiet time costs nothing. There are lots of free courses out there you can use that cost nothing.
yeah.
And I also have a free gift for your listeners as well. I'll
Hmm.
tell you a little bit more about that.
Wonderful.
Um, so there's a lot of things out there that don't have to cost you anything, but it will cost a bit of time.
Mm,
It will cost you time.
time.
But if you cannot make time for you, if you cannot put yourself in the equation of being important in your own life, how can we expect anybody to take us into consideration?
Yeah.
I mean, when you talk about abuse, and there's a whole another can of worm I just opened here, but if we do not take time for ourselves, that is self abuse.
Yeah.
If we put ourselves last, that is self abuse. And I've seen with people who attend my courses where we learn to love yourself, like we just talked about, making time for yourself,
Mm,
the abuse stops naturally. Most often, you don't even have to get out of the relationship.
yeah. And that's the whole thing is that self-love. If you can provide that self-love to yourself, you can show up as your best person, and that's going to flow on to everyone around you, and so they can shine with you. So you're so right, that ripple effect of being kind and love yourself ripples into everyone around you.
Yeah.
So, Hannah, I'm interested uh, to hear what one small act of kindness has stayed with you that you can recall.
Something that somebody has done for me.
Mm.
Is that what you mean?
Just a small act of kindness someone's done for you that's has stayed with you.
Oh, well, it to this day, it brings tears to my eyes, uh, because it was so beautiful. The When my husband was killed, I had to drive 30 kilometers on a mountain road to get to a phone because we didn't have a phone where we lived. And then I managed to phone home, the Netherlands, from Lesotho. And within 48 hours, my parents and my two sisters were there.
Oh, 48 hours. They must have acted straight away.
They
Mm.
dropped everything.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Uh, I must say, just being, yeah, that's just overwhelming to feel that. Yeah. With my father when he passed, the people that showed up for me at his service, it was a surprise, and yeah, you can't explain what that does within you and the love that you feel. So that would have been overwhelming within 48 hours that they arrived by your side to deal with what was happening at the time. But yeah, just to be there for you. What beautiful parents and sister you have.
Yeah, and then we also had, because we had a little bit more than a week, and we had to organize a traditional African funeral. I don't know if you've ever
Wow.
been to a traditional African
I
funeral.
haven't been to one, but I've watched one on TV. I would say
Right.
it takes
So
a lot of organising.
exactly, we had to feed, I don't know, hundreds of people
Mm,
because we had the store that it was a family business over 100 years in the country. And my husband's father had died 6 weeks before, and nobody had ever managed to say goodbye. So this was basically a funeral for both of them.
mm,
And then we had friends and family. Well, I had my family there, and then other friends from South Africa came, and we were together in the house for a week. That period, helping, we had all these people, amazing people help with that funeral because there
mm.
was no funeral parlor. We had to organize the food. We had to dig the grave. We had to find a minister. We had to do everything ourselves. We
Yeah.
even had a friend that prepared the coffin and the body,
Mm,
So that was, to this day, when I think of that time. And that also makes it easier then to
yeah.
move forward, to have such an amazing, it was such a celebration of life that whole week.
Yeah.
So,
And to know all that was happening and then you had time to forgive is just amazing. You're from, yeah, and I'm blown away with how you, in a week, you've moved all that and you got to the funeral and you could still forgive. So I couldn't imagine what was going through your mind, your heart, your body at that time. But that's just amazing, and it's testament that yeah, forgiveness does work. So just you've mentioned before that you meditate. You've put a quote out there before. What quote or mantra do you say that brings you peace?
that's a good one. One of them, well, first of all, I live with my favorite piece of furniture is the mirror, but
Yeah.
not the physical mirror. I work with the principle that everybody in my life reflects back to me where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
So if I see people I know or people can be politicians, and South African politicians are not the best, to say it very mildly. I just keep on looking, what are they feedback am I getting from them?
Yes.
So are they disrespectful of me? Let me be respectful of me. Where am I disrespectful of me and change it? Are they too focused on the money? Oh, let me look at where am I need to adjust my relationship with
Yep.
money. And that always brings me peace, because now those irritating, difficult people bring me wisdom and gold, which makes forgiveness also much easier.
Mm.
And that brings peace.
Yeah. And gives you that mirror reflection that you need to look at that so they're giving you a gift that, hey, you need to look at this in your life. So,
Yeah, and it's especially how we treat ourselves, because we might be super, respectful of everybody else, but not of ourselves.
yes, that little
So,
self-talk and yes, can wear us down. And we may portray one thing on
and
the outside, but on the inside, we'll be self-talking and bringing ourselves down. So it's being kind and having nice thoughts and positive thoughts, and being kind to ourselves. Mm.
absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely.
And so, where can people go to connect with you and your soulful work?
Okay, well, I have a gift for your audience.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still finding my feet, which is the best one to give. So if they go to hannakok.com, I've got this app called iThrives. There will
Mm-hmm.
be either that or a meditation, or actually I'm offering both. So if you go to Hanna Kok and sign up for the iThrive or whatever gift I have, you will be automatically put in contact with me. But
Mm-hmm.
you can also go to thelifeyouwant.com, but it's got a hyphen in there, or iThrives.zone. Those are some of my websites. Or
Mm-hmm.
just if you Google Hanna Kok, Hanna without the H at the end,
Yeah.
then and KOK for the surname, which means cook, then you'll find me. I
Wonderful.
am also on LinkedIn. I am on Facebook and other things, but on LinkedIn, I'm more likely to befriend people than on Facebook. You know how it goes. You befriend
Yeah.
somebody and then they try to scam you one way or the other. That's
Yeah.
happening a
Well,
lot.
that's very generous of you. I'm sure our listeners will be hopping online and seeing what they can actually, get from your wonderful work that you're doing out there. So, yeah, thank you. And I'm interested also to hear one message, or what message would you share with someone who's quietly struggling and feels that their body is working against them?
What I'm saying to people is, the solution is not out there. The solution is inside.
Yeah.
There are great books, and even if you sign up for my gift, whatever gifted you're
Mm-hmm.
getting, and the gift is always to support the mindset one way or the other. There's also a book that you will be able to download or have access to called Germanic Healing Knowledge, and it's about the psychic roots of illnesses.
Mm-hmm.
Go, and even if you Google it, what is my body trying to tell me with this illness? You will find something. And that can be then your starting point to do the inner work.
Yeah. Fantastic. Great advice. And finally, how has this journey and healing affected you, your loved ones, and all your connections around you? I'm interested to hear, with you and you being in your space, how that ripples around you.
Well, the interesting thing is I have a husband who has quite a few illnesses. And it's quite funny because I'm supposed to be able to support him, right? But you know how it goes when you have your loved ones. You can't always support them as well as you want to. But what I do again is I look in the mirror and say, okay, so he has Parkinson's. Now, when I look up Parkinson's, it's all about being stuck. I'm
Yes.
going like, I had a first husband stuck, a second
Mm,
husband that is stuck. Let me now focus on getting unstuck myself.
Yes.
As I now focus on getting unstuck myself, I'm in a better space. I have more patience for him. Um, and the better I do emotionally, the better he does emotionally and physically. So, what was your original question again? What do, oh, how
How
are the people around me are
around you,
affected by what
yeah, about, yeah, how are you affected and how does that, ripple out to your loved ones and all your connections around you?
well, the main thing is that I am a lot less judgmental of them. I
Mm,
can accept people for where they are at,
mm,
which is freeing for a lot of people because we tend to judge others so quickly.
yeah,
Yeah. I do my best not to. I still do sometimes, but then I'll look in that mirror again and I go, okay, I got the message. Thank you very
yeah.
much. And then got an idea of how to deal with them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, sometimes, yeah, and that mirror one advice is a good insight to, if that's getting projected at you, there's that, whether it's mirror or inner shadow work, whatever we call it, yeah, we've got to go and look in to see why it's getting projected at us because it's usually within us as well. Yeah, yeah.
I'm afraid I have not. There were many times I wished it was not in me, but
Mm,
I haven't in the 40 or 30 odd years I've been doing this. I have not found the exception yet.
yeah,
It might take a bit of time. So if we're willing to be honest with ourselves and, of course, forgive ourselves for having that, that's another thing that people don't want to look at themselves because now we think there's something wrong with us. No, we're just human and we're learning and it's all good, and forgive ourselves for needing that feedback because
yeah,
we are not perfect.
yeah. No, we aren't perfect, and we've got to be kind to ourselves and accept that and love ourselves for every way we show up, and keep moving forward. Yes. So, Hannah, it's been a pleasure with complete grace and gratitude. Thank you for sharing your beautiful energy here with us today, your heart, your wisdom, and you are a beautiful reminder that healing starts with compassion, not pressure. So thank you. You've shown us that wellness doesn't come from just within green juices or gym routines. It's in those quiet moments where we have courage to forgive. So forgive to let go of those stories, the shame, the emotional weight that we've been carrying for far too long. So I really appreciate talking with you today. And I'm sure our listeners, there's a lot of things resonating with them as it did with me. And we look forward to accessing your free gifts to help others out there. So thank you again for what you've provided here today.
Well, thank you so much. Also, thank the listeners for being with us right till the end. I really
Yes.
appreciate that you spend time with us. I value your time. And of course, you, Nikki, thank you for this platform and giving me the opportunity to spread the message.
The pleasure has been all mine. And to our listeners, if you've been feeling off track, overwhelmed, or at odds with your body, may this be a reminder that you are not broken. You are just ready for something softer, deeper, and more aligned. And healing is possible. This is positive vibes. Let's keep building the world where there's purpose, people, possibility, and kindness come first. Sending you all love and positive vibes. Bye for now.